Hello folks, my name is Jacket, and this is my Shalate Newsweek Jacket. I'm sorry that I've been long away, too long actually. I took a break for the time being, while Crazy was busy with his real-life quests.
Yeah, I was, but now I'm back at it again.
Good. Let's begin. Today's topic is world. NH's first coronavirus patient, told to stay isolated, went to event instead. New Hampshire's first coronavirus patient, a hospital employee, went to an event tied to Dartmouth Business School on Friday despite being told to stay isolated, officials say, and all others who went to the event are now being told to stay isolated. The announcement on Tuesday came, as state health officials said a second person in the state is presumed to have the new coronavirus, COVID-19. That person was in close contact with the first patient, and the officials expect more coronavirus cases may be found, as they investigate. The second, presumed patient is a man, according to the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services, which didn't provide additional details or say exactly where he came into contact with the first patient. Wow, all this coronavirus is giving me slight worries, but I don't think it's gonna come over to me.
I mean, this thing spreads pretty fast, you can't be too sure.
I'm sure I'll be fine, Crazy. Moving on ellipsis points. This one is interesting ellipsis points. Protein discovered inside a meteorite. A team of researchers from Plex Corporation, Bruker Scientific LLC, and Harvard University has found evidence of a protein inside of a meteorite. They have written a paper describing their findings and have uploaded it to the ARZIT preprint server. In prior research, scientists have found organic materials, sugars and some other molecules considered to be precursors to amino acids in both meteorites and comets and fully formed amino acids have been found in comets and meteorites as well. But until now, no proteins had been found inside of an extraterrestrial object. In this new effort, the researchers have discovered a protein called hemolythin inside of a meteorite that was found in Algeria back in 1990. The hemolythin protein found by the researchers was a small one, and was made up mostly of glycine and amino acids. It also had oxygen, lithium and iron atoms in its ends in an arrangement never seen before. The team's paper has not yet been peer-reviewed, but once the findings are confirmed, their discovery will add another piece to the puzzle that surrounds the development of life on Earth. Proteins are considered to be essential building blocks for the development of living things, and finding one on a meteorite bolsters theories that suggest either life, or something very close to it, came to Earth from elsewhere in space. Well, will we find proteins in meteors, some kind of life forms in other planets? Pretty sure soon enough, when we unlock fully the space travel we could probably do more research of the universe as a whole.
You're going off topic a bit.
Yeah, sorry, just got those thoughts, you know. Moving on to the next thing. Holy. It's a U.S. military targets Taliban forces in defensive airstrike, first strike since historic peace deal. The U.S. military conducted a defensive airstrike against Taliban forces in Afghanistan, less than a week after signing a historic peace deal with the militant group. U.S. military spokesman Colonel Sonny Leggett said in a tweet that the airstrike Wednesday was conducted against 4 Taliban fighters in Nari-Siraj, in the Helmand province, who he said were actively attacking an Afghan National Defense and Security Force and checkpoint. This was a defensive strike to disrupt the attack, he added. This was our first strike against the Taliban in 11 days. Trump says he had good talk with Taliban leader Leggett, who called in the militant group to uphold their commitments to the peace deal signed in February 29, added that Taliban forces had conducted 43 attacks on Afghan troops on Tuesday in the same province. To be clear and we are committed to peace, however, we have the responsibility to defend our partners, Leggett continued. Afghans and US have complied with our agreements, however, Talibs appear intent on squandering this opportunity and ignoring the will of the people for peace. Afghanistan's Interior Ministry said 4 civilians and 11 troops were killed Wednesday in a wave of attacks attributed to the Taliban across the country in the past 24 hours. Afghan forces killed at least 17 Taliban members during those clashes. The Taliban have not claimed responsibility for any of the attacks so far and have not commented in the US airstrike. Fucking Christ again with those life-threatening war news. Either way, we are moving on. Russia's Putin, Turkey's Erdogan reached northwestern Syria ceasefire agreement. Oh, so Russia and Turkey's leaders announced Thursday they have reached a ceasefire agreement to begin at midnight in the northwestern Syrian region of Idlib. The deal set up by Russian President Vladimir Putin and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan also established a security corridor along an east-west highway in Idlib. An offensive by Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad and his Russian-backed forces forced more than 1 million civilians to flee toward the Turkish border, while Turkey already hosts 3.5 million Syrian refugees. At the same time, 36 Turkish soldiers were killed in the crossfire. Turkey, which backs opposition rebels, responded by attacking Syrian troops. Putin said he hoped the agreement would serve as a good basis for ending the fighting in the Idlib de-escalation zone, put an end to the suffering of civilian population and contain a growing humanitarian crisis. Brawl breaks out in Turkey's parliament over Syria involvement. Erdogan meets with Putin after a devastating 9-year civil war. Syria's recent offensive campaign to reclaim rebel strongholds in Idlib has exacerbated the country's refugee crisis to one of its most dire points. The agreement appears to allow Russia through the Syrian government to secure control over strategic highways. For Turkey's interests, Assad appeared to agree to back off his push to reclaim control over all of the Idlib province, the last opposition-controlled region that borders Turkey. In a previous test of Russia-Turkey relations, when Turkey downed a Russian warplane in 2015, Russia enacted sweeping economic sanctions, cutting the flow of tourists to Turkey and banning most Turkish exports. Turkey could not handle the costly crisis, much less a military conflict with a nuclear power, and backed off. But this time, Moscow needs Ankara as a partner in Syrian settlement, and Russia's supply routes for its forces cross the Turkish Straits. That's fucking cool. Let's see if we have any other news. If that's you, Azrael.
I thought we'll include more in future episodes.
You serious right now?
Yeah.
Fine, you're the boss anyway. Goodbye everybody, it's a huge pleasure to finally come back. We'll be releasing more content soon.